Hello everyone, my galactic propaganda people, may the force be with you. Well, today we're starting off a video that's pretty special here. We are moving into the galaxy, we're moving into the Star Wars theme here using the Bandai kit of the A-Wing fighter. But this is just a build about my own kit. This is part of a buddy build, and we'll get into that a little bit more as we go along here, showing some of the other models that were built along the way. Opening the box, I guess the first thing that strikes me is, well, this is a smaller kit than I guess I was assuming it was going to be, but that's okay. And then as we move through the box, we have, of course, the pieces for the A-Wing itself. In the bottom, we have a representative, kind of a diorama piece, a base, if you will, of the Death Star that this could be displayed upon. We're going to tweak that later on as we build our base. Well, let's move through the instructions here just to get a sense of what's coming up here. This is a pressure fit type of a kit. I've heard great things from about Bandai kits. I haven't built one before, but I'm looking forward to it. I don't see anything here that's going to really jump out as something that's necessarily challenging. There's really not a lot of kit parts involved with this kit as well, so it should be a fairly quick build. Of course, we start off with just the basics. We'll kind of cut some pieces off from the sprue itself. And as I said, it really doesn't take much time before you start actually assembling the kit. And I'm going to be painting as I go for many of these parts here, especially the cockpit. So just kind of detailing that out just a little bit. I don't spend a lot of time doing a lot of super detailing in here, but I do plan to have an open canopy. So there's going to be some looks inside the cockpit. So I'm going to spend just, like I said, just a little bit of time. I'm using the AK weathering pencils just to show a little bit. This is an aluminum color just to show some kind of scratches and wear on the pilot seat itself here. And then the other addition I did, this is a very simple thing, just made some seat belts, some harnesses using just thin strips of masking tape, just to give it that kind of, oh, there should be somebody in here. And then we'll just start assembling the cockpit. Again, this is a snap fit or pressure fit, as if you will. Everything goes together very, very nicely, very smoothly. That's quite the engineering for sure. And then just that quickly, we're really off to the painting stages now. And so I've decided to go ahead and use basically the box art as my template or my idea, my inspiration for this particular A-Wing. So it'll be basically a white base overall with the red stripe down the middle. A lot of panel lines here. This is the fun part because there's a lot of panel lines and you can really go to town here as to as little or as much weathering as you want to. A well-used A-Wing or, you know, one that just came out of the wash rack. Who knows? Pre-shading here along a lot of these panel lines. I'm just using a simple card here. Very rough, just kind of adding some shadowing and details. I know it looks like a mess right now, but it will get there. But this gives that sense of, like I said, it's a pre-shade and shadowing here. Now that I have my pre-shade mess in place here, I'm going to go ahead and overspray that with the base color. This is a light, just an off-white here basically. The trick here, of course, is we've done this pre-shading. That's great. We don't want to cover it up right now. So I'm definitely concentrating on the centers of the panel lines. Obviously, I'm not being extra careful here. I do want, of course, to go lighter along those panel lines around the edges because I want that pre-shade to show through. This brown baby diaper color here is great. It's a pre-weathering stage here, going to add to some of that grit and grime. And then of course we can just individualize some of these panels here, and that's always a great idea. And for that I'm going to be a little bit more careful. We'll mask off some of these here and put some tape on there around those and add some little bit of colors that are gray or white just to really bring out some of these different features here. And then, of course, the moment of truth, removing the tape. Let's just see what we have here. And as I mentioned, I'll be using a number of different colors or shades of whites and grays throughout. So I'll go back, retape certain panels, give it a little bit different shading color, a little bit darker gray, a little bit more of a blue color, some more bright whites. It all just kind of breaks up the surface, gives a lot of visual interest, and I don't know, just kind of looks kind of cool. So while I'm peeling off tape here, let's get on to some of this buddy build. This first episode is going to be about Joshua Scott, who's one of our buddy build members, and this is his project. Now that we've introduced the buddy build to this video here, so let's talk about what this buddy build actually kind of how it worked. So there were 4 modelers involved here: Josh, Grant, Doug, and myself. And we live in 4 different states: Oregon, Washington, California, and Utah. We got together simply because we have a friendship, we communicate online, and we just kind of came up with this idea of let's try to do this together. Behind the scenes, we have basically an instant message chat that we have where we post our pictures, show progress shots, talked with each other, things like that. And then we also, from time to time, would get together on some Skype calls so we could do video talks and basically the same thing, but just show pictures at the same time, videos of ourselves, just hanging out. It's a great way. I mean, these buddy chats and technology today are really changing the way, at least I do a lot of my modeling. Oftentimes I'm in chats or on Skype calls with people just hanging out and building models together. Gone are the days where we sit in our basement all by our lonesome and never see anybody except for maybe our local show, or if we're lucky enough to go to some of the national shows. So I highly encourage, if you have some friends, get together, even if they're not even close, in proximity. Get together. Technology makes it easy, and try to have some fun with some other people and socialize a bit. That's the best part of this hobby. Okay, now let's move back to what we're doing here. We've started to add those red colors onto the A-Wing. This is kind of that center stripe. Adding some of these metallic effects. These are extreme metal colors along some of these panels. Once again, kind of highlighting them with some metallic effects. And then back in the exhaust area here at the rear of the vehicle, again, just a metallic sheen just to kind of bring out some of these details. We're really getting, this is going to be a fairly heavily weathered A-Wing here, so we're really starting to add those base colors. Now that I have my painting pretty much in place and all ready to go, now it's just time to basically assemble the A-Wing here. And again, this pressure fit type of a kit, everything just slides together, everything fits so well. This is just quite a joy to work with here. My first time again with the Bandai kit, but boy, this is a lot of fun. You really get straight to the painting part, not a lot of fiddly stuff to worry about. Now that everything's basically assembled here, now I can start to put together the overall weathering. So start off with just some wear and tear on the front side here. I guess he's ran into a few asteroids or moon dust or whatever it might be. So he's got some chips and pits on the front of the fighter here. Just bringing out the sponge, tapping in a little bit metallic steel color here, and then I'll enlarge some of these chips a bit using a fine brush. A special thank you to all my amazing Patreon members for your incredible support. Your contributions help me continue to create content for this channel. If you're not already a member, I invite you to join our Patreon community. As a member, you'll gain access to exclusive behind-the-scenes content, early releases, and more. I hope you'll consider joining Patreon and supporting this channel. Thank you very much. No matter if it's a galaxy far, far away or a long time ago, you know that this is a Rick model project if the oil paints are on the workbench, and they certainly are here. Most of the weathering from this point forward is going to be using the oil paints. You can see I have a variety of colors laid out on the palette, and yes, I'll be using all those colors just to add some extra definition and depth and variety and nuance to the weathering project as we move along here. So I've gone through the process of using oil paints for weathering in quite a few of my prior videos, so I'm not going to go very deep into that right now. If you want a little deeper dive, take a look at some of those prior videos. Just a small recap, a quick recap here. The colors are added basically almost dry, so a brush with just the paint on it itself, just in limited areas. I blend it back with a secondary brush just to kind of feather it out. I'll use some thinner, but mostly the thinner is to clean my brushes and add a little bit of moisture to certain surfaces just for blending. But this is not a wash. This is actually painting on the model. So a lot of dry. When I say dry, I don't thin it down with the paints. It's not a wash. It's not a filter or anything like that. I'm literally painting onto the surface. Well, the oil paint weathering's come along just fine here. I'm getting close to the end, so this is a good time to check in and see what Doug Smith offered with our buddy build. Okay, now this is the part where I get to ruin my model here. This is the canopy, and like I said at the very beginning of the video, I have this idea that I want the canopy to be open, which means I need to cut the canopy and break it apart here. So first off, I'm just going to do a little bit of sanding. Unfortunately, this is the one place that I had a little bit of an issue with this kit, is that the sprue on connecting the clear parts to the sprue, it's not in the best of places here, so it took a little bit of sanding and polishing in order to clean that up. Once I got past that, now just some light scoring along where the canopy would open, and then I'll start breaking that apart. We'll polish that up, and then I'll be ready to display my model with an open canopy so we could see that those seat belts that I made earlier on and such. And then finally, just to bring that really nice shiny luster, just a little bit of this gauzy fluid, we'll just dip these parts in there, allow them to dry, and I have some nice clear canopy parts. Okay, here we are. We're on the second half of our project here. We have our A-Wing completed. Now it's time to put the base together. As usual, I don't really have much of an idea of where I'm going with this. I do want a small little base with a nice backdrop to display my A-Wing on. The plastic parts here, well, those are from the Death Star that's included in the kit. That's part of the base if you wanted to display it that way. I'm going to repurpose those parts. Not sure exactly how, but I think they're going to be some integrated sort of panels or something within the wall. Just laying out basically some foam here. I'm using hot glue just to glue everything together, and we'll kind of see where this goes. Now for the setting of the base, the overall aesthetics here, it's going to be kind of a rocky terrain here where this little landing pad is like nestled in. Nice easy way to make some rock textures here on your base using the foam is just score it with your hobby knife, put some little lines, hash marks in it if you will. Just pick out some of the foam and it leaves you with a really nice texture. Now, it doesn't make a mess, and so while I clean up the mess, let's get on to what Grant did for our buddy build. Let me take just a really quick time out here just to say thank you to Josh, to Grant, and to Doug for participating in this A-Wing buddy build. I had a great time, and as you guys can all see through the video and their works here, they are fantastic modelers, each bringing their own unique style to these A-Wings. What a joy to participate and work alongside them. So once again, guys, thank you very, very much. And so in terms of what I'm working on here, we're still working on the base, as you can tell. I'm adding some of the terrain effects just to kind of unify and give texture to those rock textures that we put in with the foam. These panels, the Death Star panels, if you will, just kind of integrating them into the scene using some magic sculpt, or I guess in this case epoxy sculpt, just making sure all those corners are nice and blended in there. Nothing too fancy here. It's a very simple base in of itself. Well, I'm not quite finished here, but we are coming down to the end of it here. So before we get to the final conclusion, I want to say thank you once again to Josh, to Grant, and Doug for participating and joining in with this A-Wing build. I had an absolutely wonderful time, and the work that you guys did it's inspiring, and I enjoyed every minute of this. Once again, I encourage you, if no matter where you live or what you're doing, you know, reach out with somebody, and these buddy builds are a lot of fun. They're kind of addictive, if you know what I mean, in a good way. Let's put it that way. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like and subscribe. If you want to see a little bit more content from Propaganda, I do have a Patreon page over there. The description, or the link, is in the description below. And here we are. I'll just let these final photographs of at least my project flow through to the end here. Until the next time, everybody, take care and happy modeling.